6 years ago, two best friends had an idea, or a germ of an idea. An idea so small, they didn't know what it was.
Greetings and welcome to Bears on Film, in which two white guys will give their opinion on stuff because the world doesn't have any of that. How are you, Billy?
I'm not too bad. How are you, Toph?
I'm doing well.
20 episodes later, they realized it was an awful name. And so, a new name sprang from the ashes.
What will the show be called, Billy?
So, going forward, the show will be called We Watched a Thing.
Because we watch things.
Because we watch things.
Like any brand does when they feel they've become stale and
it's
garbage.
It's like when Coke became New Coke.
It's like, yeah, rather than actually trying to improve in any way, we'll just rebrand it and hope that people fall for it.
4 years later, one friend left, but the other soldiered on.
We are, as you know, the mum and dad of We Watched a Thing. You can work out for yourself who's who. And
it's not up for discussion.
It's not up for discussion, but it's not about you guys. It's nothing you guys have done.
But we're sending you to the orphanarium.
That's right. We have decided it's medical science for the lot of you.
Meanwhile, a plucky lad from Western Sydney had been listening and occasionally joining. And a year ago, he jumped aboard the floundering ship and We Watched a Thing.
Brand new, newly minted co-host of the show, Mr. David Powell. How you doing, mate?
I am good, my friend, and good to have you back.
And that pretty much brings us up to speed. So today, let's fucking party, bitches. We watch a thing. We watch a thing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Watched a Thing for the 300 and somethingth time. It's our birthday show, mate.
Happy birthday, buddy. All I did was make me realise how much I missed Topher. Come back, big guy.
Well, he has told me that he'll hop on for a Christmas episode again this year, so that'll be fun.
Awesome.
We've been throwing out some suggestions of what to watch, but yeah, we'll think of something. But this isn't about Topher, mate. Fuck Topher.
Jungle Cruise. Jungle Cruise.
The movie that famously made him leave the show. But, mate, not only is this week the 6th birthday of We Watched a Thing, it's your 1 year anniversary as well. What are the odds that you joined on an anniversary?
That's amazing.
It is.
Fuck, that year's gone quickly.
It sure has. Tell you what, your audio's improved a lot listening back to that clip of your first appearance.
Fuck, wasn't it?
But here we are. Thank you, all of you, for sticking with us for these 6 years, especially for sticking with me. I really, really appreciate it. There was the year there where it was just me looking for guests every week and, lining up different time zones. And then thank God Dave came aboard, and it's just been a joy and a treat every week. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to Dave. And happy birthday, mate.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
But we're not here
until because we changed providers, so we were with the good folks at Podbean now. It wasn't until I looked actually at the new player, because there's now a funky player on the website where you can literally scroll through the entire archive.
Yep.
I did. I went all the way back to the beginning and re-listened for the first time since 6 years
to Justice League.
Well, not the whole thing because I was at work, but it was weird hearing the little intro in that you put together just there, because I literally 48 hours ago I listened to that exact same thing.
Yeah.
Just for fun, because I was like, oh my God, you can go all the way to the beginning.
Yeah, it's great. It's good fun. But we're not here to talk about us this week, or not mostly. We are going to talk about some movies. In fact, this is going to be a fairly movie-packed episode. We've got several things to discuss, mate. Mainly because you forgot what we were meant to do and went and saw other things.
Sorry about that.
So
I'm old and I forget shit.
So we hadn't planned on doing this first film, Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but luckily we both managed to see it. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, we'll start at the top and then go downhill from that.
All right. So Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a 2023 American dystopian action film directed by Francis Lawrence from a screenplay by Michelle Leslie and Michael Arndt, based on the 2020 novel The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I did not even know was a thing until this movie was coming out. Serves as a prequel to the Hunger Games franchise, and it's the 5th installment in the series overall. It stars Tom Blythe, Rachel Zegler, Peter Dinklage, Jason Schwartzman, Hunter Schafer, Josh Andrus Rivera, and Viola Davis. And what is it about, mate?
Wish.com, Draco Malfoy teams up with Snow White, attempts to forge a young love in trying times. Meanwhile, Peter Dinklage gets in their way and, I don't know, Oprah Winfrey on meth overshadows things.
All right. That pretty much sums it up.
Fucking bonkers.
Yeah. Well, let's get straight into it then. I don't think we've actually really spoken about this, but I know that you're a fan of young adult stuff. I know you're a big CW watcher. You're into your Teen Wolf and stuff. I can
caveat some good stuff.
I can only
like every piece of trash that gets trotted out for undiscerning.
So I can only assume that you are the number one fan of the Hunger Games franchise.
The Hunger Games trilogy is highly underrated. They are three.
Isn't it a
very
quadrilogy? Aren't there four?
Well, I was going to say. Oh, did they do a fucking Harry Potter and split?
Yeah,
because I was going to say fifth film, really. But you're right. Yeah, there was Mockingjay 1, Mockingjay 2, or whatever the fuck it was. But all right. So that quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Solid as fuck. They're all really good.
I'm sure that I've seen all of them at some point. I may have only seen one or two. I actually can't remember. I don't have great memories of any of them.
Jennifer Lawrence is in them, I think.
I remember, maybe it's the last one. I remember Jennifer Lawrence yelling at a cat. I just remember her losing her shit at a cat and being like, "Prue is dead!" to this cat.
That is one of the last couple where they're kind of in a bunker, and I think there might be a cat.
Yeah, okay. So
they're good films.
I'm not a huge fan of the Hunger Games. I walked into this not only with like no expectations, kind of with low expectations. I was not expecting this to be a good movie at all. I saw it just because I had a couple of hours free and I was like, hey, I love the movies. Let's go.
So you missed the last half hour.
Well, yeah, we'll get to the length because this is a long fucking film. Yeah. But let me preface our review with saying I was pleasantly surprised with this film. As far as my memory goes, this is the best of the franchise. Where are you on this?
It is a good film.
For the most part.
There's a couple. There are a few things that I think could be improved, but it's in the same ballpark. It's equally solid. Most of the acting is pretty good. Yep. Production design, everything's all good. Same director, so you would expect it to have a similar flavor, and I think it does.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's start with the length, because this movie is way too fucking long. At 2 hours, 40 minutes. And not only is it too long, I think structurally and narratively, it doesn't land. I read some really mixed things from Hunger Games fans. After I saw this, I hopped onto the Hunger Games subreddit, because I was like, this is interesting. I'm curious what people think of this. And it seems really divided, even in terms of the book, as to how it was received by fans of the series. And I can totally see why. I loved the first two acts of this film. I actually thought they were really strong, really enjoyable. I don't like the third act at all. And it goes for so long and it falls apart for me.
Yeah. I wish I had enough time to go and read up on the book. And there were a few things where I was watching the film and I found myself going, oh, that's a fucking bad decision. And then sort of thinking, oh shit, well maybe that was in the book. Maybe I should really, the first time she sings, I thought, well, fuck, that's on the nose just because you've got Rachel Zegler.
No,
in there,
so I was reading that this is like, I'm sure that you've read The Hobbit and you know how many songs are in the book of The Hobbit. This apparently takes that to like the next level. Apparently, like there are pages upon pages of this book that are just song lyrics.
So that's why they cast her. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I checked my watch thinking, oh, well, this is obviously where the film's going to end.
Yeah.
And it's where he gets reassigned.
Yes.
And then you've got this whole fucking, and you're right, it just drags.
Yeah. And I actually stopped caring by that point. I felt like it did the film a disservice. And it's a shame because in some ways I understand where it's there because theoretically that final act is when all of the quote unquote character development happens. I don't have a great memory of the first three films, but I understand that this guy is the villain in those.
Well, he's not just the villain. He is almost evil personified.
Yeah.
He is. There are other sort of quote unquote kind of bad guys in the initial four, the Jennifer Lawrence run,
Yeah.
who do bad things, but they all have sort of depth, and you sympathize with them, but you can see where they're coming from. They're either trying to survive or they're trying to, whatever. But Donnie Sutherland is fucking awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gets worse as it goes on. The premise of this film, slash book, I found bizarre, when it was announced, because I was like, how do you make a prequel where your main character is he's not Darth Vader, he's fucking Palpatine.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So how do you, and the prequel Palpatine, still fucking evil.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not like we start with him handing candy to kids and being all nice, and then you see his trajectory. It's very hard to start with someone sympathetic, knowing that you're going to end up, and I don't think that I don't think they managed that character arc.
No, not at all. I don't think that
it's this gentle arc where you sort of, his you could sort of buy into his ambition given his childhood, and you get like 2 seconds a snippet of that. So they drip feed you. I don't think enough, to be honest, of who his father was. That I think is shortchanged. It does help understand his trajectory, but you get this little bit of his ambition vying with his humanity, and then suddenly in the last 10 minutes, it's just this complete about face, which I think was, and this is the writing. Presumably the book's the same. I don't think that's handled well at all.
No, agreed. I don't think there's any trajectory there at all, to be honest. I don't think that you can see a clear linear path from where this film begins to where it ends. I don't think that the character development is there, and that's why I don't think that half hour is necessary, because that's where it's all supposed to happen, really. Up until then, the movie's a very soft kind of love story retreading of, like that we've got the arena and the Hunger Games segment. And that, for me, is the bit that really worked in the movie. And then once he goes to her district and stuff, I just don't care about either of them by that point until the movie ends.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I've spent most of the movie going, am I being unfair? Is Rachel Zegler actually good? And I came out the end of this film the same way I went in, thinking, I just don't think she's a very good actress.
So
she's got quite a nice voice, and I get that Disney would fucking love her. She's got the Disney look and the Disney type of voice, and I understand why she's in fucking Snow White or whichever one.
Yeah, so that's the only thing
inappropriate comments about.
Yeah,
but I just didn't. That she alternated between having moments where I thought, oh, you're actually kind of landing emotional beats of this. It's subtle, it's well done. But then she went back to overacting, and I just didn't buy it at all. I thought he was good.
She actually surprised me quite a bit. I've not seen her in anything. The only thing I know her from is press stuff for Snow White, which people now hate her for because she just keeps bagging out Snow White. And it's like, well, why are you doing this? That's the only thing I know her from. I've not seen West Side Story. I'm assuming that she's predominantly a singer, right? And that's why she was cast in West Side Story. Like, my understanding is she was maybe like a YouTuber or something.
I don't know her background. I assumed I'd actually forgotten that she was West Side Story, because I watched about 10 minutes of that new West Side Story and went, this is just fucking awful, and turned it off.
Yeah, right.
But I actually assumed she'd come out of the Disney stable, because everything about her screams Disney actress.
She actually surprised me in this film. I actually quite liked her, and she was a big part of what made those first two acts work for me. I think that they had a good chemistry together.
I think that in spite of the kind of scenes where I thought she wasn't acting particularly, I think she and he had a good chemistry, and I liked him a lot. I thought he was very good. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that I've seen him in anything, but
no.
Same. I thought he was actually very good.
Yeah. I think the movie needed more Peter Dinklage. personally. I think that the most, I mean, firstly, he's just fan-fucking-tastic. But I think that the most emotional beat in the entire film comes right towards the end when
100%.
When Snow is talking to Dinklage and he's basically admitting how much he hates the Hunger Games and he hates that it has become a thing that he is associated with.
Yeah,
that's the most interesting bit of the film, and I'd love to see more of that side of things rather than the bullshit that we follow in the last act of this film.
Yeah, that reveal where it's like your father was an asshole and he's the reason we've got these horrible things, not me. I was trying to shut it down all this time.
Yes.
That was one of the best moments in the film, and I agree, he was fantastic. Viola Davis, on the other hand,
yeah,
Jesus Christ, has anyone chewed more scenery in the last 20 fucking years? Her character was ridiculous.
She certainly is chewing some scenery in this film. I don't understand.
To the point where I did not believe her character would exist in this world.
Well,
she's too over the top.
I'd love to talk about the world building with you because, like I said, I'm not a fan of the Hunger Games. I don't remember them much. I don't understand what this world is. It's always confused me, the garb that they wear and the hairstyles and stuff. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this universe and how that's part of the world building. And I was hoping that this movie might explain some of that, and it doesn't at all. So we're only 10 years into the history of the Hunger Games in this film. But, you know, for someone like me who has no memories of the last, 4 films, I couldn't tell you why there's Hunger Games. I don't know what I'm assuming, was it a civil war? I don't know what's going on here. It seems really underfleshed as far as I'm concerned. It all seems like a rough excuse to have the quote-unquote Hunger Games.
It's from memory, and I don't know that it's as well fleshed out as it probably is in the books, but they're sort of out of the ashes of huge civil war with all these various districts and etc. The Hunger Games was created as a way to both subjugate all of the various districts by sort of enforcing the iron fist of the big brother capital, but also as a distraction, I think, by making them into this, the ultimate sport, the ultimate spectacle where everyone roots for, each district is rooting for their 2 tributes and everyone gets behind their favorite. It became kind of like a Super Bowl sort of thing.
Well, and that's the bit of this film I like the best.
Distracts people from the shitty disparity in wealth and all the rest of it. And I find that quite an interesting world that she's created. Yeah. And I think the production designers have done a great job. I mean, not just on the first 4 films, because I think the costuming and everything about the design of those films is really, really top notch. You've got the capital, who are wealthy to the point of insanity. They want for nothing. It's like ancient Rome. They're just lolling about, feeding each other grapes, indulging in debauchery, whatever, entertainment they want, and so the costuming, everything is ludicrous. They look ridiculous. There's too much makeup. You've got Elizabeth Banks with 6-inch long eyelashes, and that all, if you saw a still from the film, looks ridiculous. But when you think about, well, look how ridiculous high fashion is now. Yeah. Take that to the nth degree. And yes, they would be wearing these ridiculous outfits, ridiculous hairstyles, ridiculous makeup. I think they did a great job in this film of taking that and kind of toning it back 40%.
To show the progression.
And showing, it we're not quite there yet, but you can still see you've got the beautiful costuming of the people in the Capitol. Yeah. Even the ones like Snow's family who have no money, but they're still trying to live at that level that they were once at. And then you've got the districts who are living in squalor. They're mining. They're they're in mud, and they're in just regular clothes because they're not bored enough to just make up new ways of dressing and adorning themselves. They're too busy trying to survive.
I agree. The production design is great, and in fact, the overall look of the film is great. This is a nicely put together film. It's shot really well. It's edited really well. The production design's great. I just wish the story was stronger, because I agree with you. My favorite bit not only is it those first 2 acts. This is going to sound weird. It's like the Moneyball aspect of those first 2 acts. It's the commercialization of the games and how that comes about and how that's implemented. That's what I found most interesting about this movie is like, when they're putting his ideas into effect where, like you can donate to your favorite, participant, and like that to me is easily the strongest part of this film.
Yeah, I agree. The Hunger Games part, that's what we're there for. That was interesting. It was interesting seeing those games from a different aspect because you're now looking at it from the point of view of a mentor. So you kind of through Woody Harrelson's eyes in the first film, but with this weird knowledge that by the end of the film you're going to hate this guy because he is the main character. It's not her. Oh yeah,
100%. It's him. Yes,
everything is through his eyes, and I found his trajectory interesting up until the point where it just became ridiculous. It's like they got 2 hours in and went, fuck, we forgot to turn him into the asshole.
Yeah,
we need to do that in the next 10 minutes.
Yes, 100%.
Shave his head. Everyone fucking hates a guy in a buzz cut.
Yeah, 100%. And even by then, look, like I said, I don't remember how evil he is in the late, the originals. But I don't think he even gets all that evil at the end of this one. Like, no, I think he does some bad things. But for the most part, you can almost not. I mean, you can't justify it, but you can understand his what he's doing still.
You can see him selling his soul and knowing, like you see him weeping about it when his best mate gets hanged.
Yeah,
knowing he turned him in. You can see him sort of selling his soul, hating himself for doing it, but not seeing any other way. He wants to get back to his family. He wants to protect Lucy Gray or whatever her name is.
Oh my God! Just say the first part of that name. I'm so the entire. People do not say each other's names that often in real life. Can you imagine if you and I were sitting here having this conversation?
Last name.
No, I know. But
she was like a Mary Beth.
Yeah, but
she even put on a southern twang, even though she was meant
first
to be a
names. Can you imagine if you and I were doing this show and at the end of every sentence, David, I said David? It's not how people speak, David.
I feel like I'm
David. It's not how people speak.
David.
It's not how people speak. But in this fucking movie, every fucking sentence is Lucy Gray, Lucy Gray, Lucy Gray. What are you doing, Lucy Gray, Lucy Gray? It's like it would be bad enough if it was.
And
just
every time
Lucy,
anyone spoke, anytime his family spoke to him, I thought they were talking about a dance sequence, choreo. Excuse me, choreo.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that was poorly written.
But Viola Davis, Jesus Christ. She was dreadful. And she can act.
I actually didn't mind it. Like it was a choice. It was a choice, and she was swinging for it. But I kind of felt like in this universe and in this context, it kind of worked. It was okay. Like it's definitely over the top, and it's a choice that she's made. But I was all right with
it. In no way did I ever believe that this fucking psychopathic comic book villain would ever be put in place in this position. It wasn't
she
just
is the most evil person
the
in this
weird
film.
eye, the crazy hair, the ridiculous outfits with the long rubber gloves in every scene, the giant walls with bottles of
like
mutated fetuses but just for fun, a giant tub, 9 foot tall thing with 10,000 poisonous snakes. It's like, at what point does because the president guy, like Snow's best mate's dad, who is the president of the Capitol, the big dog, who we never really see,
never,
other than briefly, but we did see him briefly. He looked like a normal guy.
Yeah.
How is he going? Maleficent in charge of everything.
Yeah, but that's why I didn't hate Viola Davis in the film, because it's a bad character to begin with. It's badly written, it's badly constructed, and I think she was just kind of having fun with it.
I don't think she acted it badly.
Yeah.
She was ridiculously over the top, but it was obviously on the page like that.
Yes.
She didn't come into the set one day with a normal costume and go, do you know what I'm feeling for this character? How many snakes can you get me in a giant tub?
Yeah, yeah.
Can we have some jars of fetuses as I walk down this promenade? And that was all on the page, and she's just run with it. So it's you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that character was fucking terrible.
Yeah. All right. All in all, how are you scoring Hunger Games Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds, or Songbirds and Snakes, whichever one it is?
Oh, look. I think I'm a 7.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think that's totally fair. I'm a 7 as well.
Almost a 7.5.
Yep, same.
But I think that the pacing and that weird drop off at the end and everything kind of kills it. But production design, I was invested the whole way through. I really liked him as our main character right up until that weird, sort of very last act. The other thing that stops it being 7.5. How fucking on the nose was it? I mean, I didn't have a problem with them going, oh yeah, that bird, it's called a mockingjay. Like, oh God, really? Do you have to do that? But then when she said, gets given a weed, and she goes, oh, it's called swamp potato, but I like its other name, Katniss. Fuck off! I almost walked out of the fucking cinema.
Yeah,
There is no reason for that's worse than saying the name of the movie.
I'm also 7.
It wouldn't have been not as on the nose as that if he had said, you know, our love story, it's almost like a ballad of songbirds and snakes.
Oh my God. Oh man, he totally may as well have, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was almost an 8 on this film. For those first, hour 45, those first two segments.
If it had stopped when he got
Yep.
We're going to send you to 8. Oh, please, bribe you, send me to 12. End it. So you don't know whether he finds her or not.
100%. The final segment.
Admittedly, you'd sort of go, how the fuck does that guy become the villain?
Yeah.
But I think in its as a standalone entity, it would have been a much better film.
Yeah. The final segment almost made me bring it down to a 6. So I'm going to land in the middle there and say it's a 7. So, yeah. All right. One more film that we've both seen this week is Five Nights at Freddy's, which kind of set things on fire a lot more than I expected it to. 2023 American supernatural horror film based on the video game series of the same name, created by Scott Cawthon, directed by Emma Tammy, who co-wrote the screenplay with Cawthon and Seth Cutterback. It stars Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lale, Piper Rubio, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Matthew Lillard. And what is it about, Dave?
Some game that I had no knowledge of.
Yeah.
It's Willy's Wonderland, but apparently came first.
Yeah.
Guy who likes to sleep a lot, can't hold down a job, but gets a job as a security guard at a place that's been shut down for years, so doesn't really need a security guard. And there's animatronics, and they might be possessed by the souls of dead children who've been killed by a serial killer who may or may not, coincidentally, have been the one who abducted his brother at a young age.
Yep.
Yeah.
So despite being pretty critically panned, this did so much better at the box office than I expected.
It did what I expected. This franchise is one of those. This is like fucking Pokemon. This
film had the second best day and date opening weekend ever.
Because there has never been a film of this franchise, and the franchise has been around for years now, and I don't know why, but it's one of the biggest in that sort of pre-tween sort of.
Right.
All 3 of my kids, even Ayla, who's 15 and should know better, was gagging to see this film. She's never played the games, but for some reason they all
just is aware of it.
None of my kids have played any of the games. They all know the franchise back to front. They know the characters. They've Googled them.
Really?
They know the fucking backstory, such as it is.
Wow.
I don't get it.
I
can't even
was
put myself back in a childhood
it.
frame. I don't understand why this franchise is so big. There's nothing to it.
I did find this really interesting, though. Again, I haven't played the game at all, but I was reading about its creation. Scott Cawthon, who created the game, he was making Christian games. He was a Christian game maker, and he made this game about these animals, and everyone was like, they are the worst looking fucking animals ever. They are terrifying. Like he apparently, it just looked like fucking shit. Like it was this Christian game about these like friendly animals, but they were so scary that everyone was like, that is awful.
That are in the game in this film.
Well,
I can understand it because they look evil.
Yeah, then that's where Five Nights at Freddy's came from. He was like, all right, well, if everyone says these things are scary, I've got these animals. I'll make a horror game. And I found that so fascinating that that's the history of this franchise.
I mean, my hat is off. I mean, this guy's like Eastman and the Turtles. He took something that on paper no one else would have seen the potential of, and he's, I mean, the guy must be a multi-millionaire by now because this thing is off the chain. So, and the game is garbage. Out of curiosity, I went and looked for the game, and the kids tell me that later games, as they got more money, became more like games.
Yeah, because it's a real point and click thing, isn't it? Like
the first few, you are literally, you never leave the security guard's office, and you have a little map of all the rooms, and you click on the different rooms, and it shows you the CCTV thing.
Yeah, right.
And you control, from memory, you control the doors on either side of the security room.
Yeah.
And you control the lights. But for some reason, you have a limited supply of electricity because that's how electricity works. You only get a certain amount, and then it runs out. And so you can only open the doors or turn the lights on, and you can only have the lights on for a certain amount of time in total before 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Or whenever your shift ends. And if the doors open and the lights are out, I think they can kill you or something. So it's the sort of thing you would learn on year one coding.
Yeah.
It's all, Boolean, yes, no, is the light on, is it off, is the door open, is it closed, is you on this? It's really fucking basic. How that premise of a game resonated with the age demographic that this is targeted at.
Yeah.
That disparity I do not understand.
I mean, it makes sense to me, I guess, because being that age demographic, I don't know, they're probably too young for actual horror games like, say, Resident Evil or Last of Us. I guess
it's jump scares when you die.
Yeah,
you literally get the face of one of these things going,
so it's like it's like how Goosebumps took off like it did, because it's horror for kids who are too young for horror. Oh, look, I love Goosebumps. In fact, I've started rewatching the 90s series with my daughter. But I can understand how a premise like that took off, like a horror game for people who are too young for horror, because there really hasn't.
I could
been
understand
like
if it was like old school Doom, really rudimentary, but you're actually playing and you're doing something.
Yeah,
this is just clicking a camera, clicking a room, clicking a camera, clicking a room, open a door.
I'd imagine it must be a short game, though, because my understanding of the game is it literally is there's 5 nights, and I guess I don't know how long each night lasts for, maybe like 20, 30 minutes or something.
I went to watch it. There's no way I'm going to fucking play this. I went and I looked at a couple of YouTube videos of gameplay and just went, I was literally scrubbing through like a 2 or 3 hour YouTube video going, am I buffering?
Yeah.
The screen hasn't changed. There's 3 hours of staring at this one wall of CCTV, and it's all grainy black and white.
Yeah.
What child is doing this?
Well, let's talk the movie then.
It's not much different.
Well, I was actually surprised. I liked this movie way more than I thought I would.
You didn't.
I did.
This movie's trash.
I'm not saying it's good. It's not a good movie. But what surprised me was how seriously the movie takes itself. Like,
that is true.
From the premise that it has, and I think, and I'll use this phrase again later in this episode, I think that the movie's biggest strength is also its biggest weakness. I think its biggest strength is that it takes itself seriously and it gives itself a proper narrative, and it tries to give itself some weight and drama to it. And I think that that's also its biggest weakness, because I think realistically this should have just been a ridiculous, gory, fun romp. And I get that there's no gore because it's obviously aimed for tweens and children and stuff. But with a premise like this, that's what it should have been. This should have been, Willy's fucking Wonderland. But instead, what we get is not really aimed for tweens either, because it's trying to give itself so much dramatic weight, and we spend so much time following this security guard and his struggles, and you know what I mean? Like it's
the plot of this movie is fucking ridiculous. The script is daft at best. Where I agree with you mostly. I think the thing that would have made this work is for the cast, and that they have a good cast. Josh Hutcherson is a good actor.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Lale, I love. Lillard is a good, highly underrated actor.
Yeah.
Mary Stuart Masterson, fuck me, haven't seen her in about 30 years, but wow, that was wonderful. They're all good actors, and they were taking it seriously, and I think they should have been. But I think the director and everyone else should have known what they were doing.
Yeah.
I think that's where it would have worked, is if the cast were treating it like a good movie, as they were, but the rest of the production should have known that there's no way you can take this shit seriously. It's fucking ridiculous. And they should have been making it funny, but with a straight cast. And I think that might have worked.
Yeah.
I think everyone playing it silly would have been just ridiculous. It would just be crap. And I think everyone taking it seriously doesn't work, because at its heart, the premise is fucking stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, my biggest problem with the film,
the script is fucking terrible.
It is. Yeah, it's not a well-written movie. My biggest problem with the movie is actually the animatronics. They're not interesting. They're not scary. They don't do anything. Like I didn't understand it. Like they don't do anything.
Is this a horror movie?
Yeah.
Or is it not? And if it's a horror movie, why do we get 2/3 of the way through it and then we're sympathizing with them? We know they're not bad or evil or anything. And we know who the bad guy's going to be, because it's the only other fucking member of the cast that you've introduced. So who's the killer going to be? Well, it's not going to be fucking Mary Stuart Masterson.
Yeah.
There's only one other member of the entire cast.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's the serial killer. What a surprise.
Yeah.
That was the least surprising reveal in the history of cinema.
Yeah. Yeah. I just found it uninteresting. Like a premise like this, it's either got to be scary or funny, or ideally both. And this movie doesn't actually swing for either of those. It doesn't try to be scary. It doesn't try to be funny. It tries to be quite a serious film.
I don't know that you can be funny with this when your premise is a serial killer who's also a child murderer who is trapped. Not just the spirits, but the actual corpses of children inside these animatronics.
I reckon you can still find a way to play with that. I mean,
not at the audience that this is targeted at. This franchise is not.
That's the problem.
If this was an adult film, you could go dark as fuck and get there. But with the audience that this is at, and I mean, this obviously goes back to the source material. I'm sure this wasn't created for the film. But I don't know that the source material would have gone into the detail of having the snapping cages and the corpses inside them. It was probably just ghosts of children or something.
Yes.
And I think
you're right. That's the problem.
That could have been funny, but snapping cages and broken corpses of young children trapped inside these things while they decay is a bit dark to be treated comedically.
But it's also not going for horror. That's my problem. Yeah.
No, well, not even Goosebumps level horror. There's no horror in this at all.
You're absolutely right. It's not even, Yeah, look, I
need to say, we're not the audience. No. And I do need to say, all three of my kids came out of this, and I expected them to go, oh, geez, that was disappointing. I said, did you like it? They were beaming from ear to fucking ear. And they said, I loved it. It was amazing.
Do you think part of that is the whole kid trying to fit in thing?
Fucking am ashamed to be your father right now.
Do you think part of that is a little bit the whole kids trying to fit in thing? Like they know their friends are going to be talking about it, so they want to say it was good? No? You think they were being genuine?
I think it's literally just we have known and kind of invested in this franchise for realistically at least 5 years, even for the 11-year-olds. And we've finally been given a big screen experience of it.
Yeah.
And and I'm struggling to think of an analogy from, you know, it's unfair because the movie itself is good, but in '77 when I saw Superman the movie,
yeah, or if,
that
like
movie
the
could have
Mario
been-
movie this year.
All right, okay, I could have said no because that was even Anya couldn't save that, and she could fucking save anything. If I reckon at the age, because I was only 5 or 6 when I saw Superman in the cinema, and that changed my life. I believed that he was flying on screen.
Yeah,
But that could have been Superman 3.
yeah.
I
know what you're
reckon
saying.
at that age, I would have still gone, oh my God, it's
the character you
9,
love on it. Yeah.
15 feet tall. It's on the big screen. I don't. My tiny brain can't process how awesome this is.
I get that.
And I think it's that. I think it's this franchise, and they were never really into Pokemon, but I reckon kids that were mad on Pokemon would have seen like Detective Pikachu or something and gone, oh my God, it's live action Pokemon.
Yes.
I've only ever seen them as shitty anime.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit like that. I'm just of that age where Pokemon was like everything when I was a kid. And I was not one of the kids who was crazy into it, but I still got a real kind of kick out of seeing Detective Pikachu on the big screen. Yeah.
Oh, look, I was sitting, I was watching it going, God, this is tripe. But there was still something cool about Pikachu. And I'm not even of the Pokemon. I never played Pokemon. I never had Nintendo DS or any of the Game Boy or anything. So I never actually played the games.
Yeah.
But even I was sort of like, oh, this is kind of cool. Oh, you too. Yeah, but oh fuck, this was.
So how are you scoring it? Because let me be clear, when I said I liked this movie, what I meant is I liked it more than I was expecting.
Dark.
It's a 5 for me.
Poor old Mary Stuart. I mean, at the end of this film, Josh Hutcherson, who generously speaking sleeps through 90% of this film, he has got a dead sister-in-law in his house, a dead career advisor guy that he was probably the last person on paper meeting with in the place that he was the security guard of, and a police officer in a coma who was also with him. He is fucked.
Yeah.
He is losing his kid. He's going to jail. By the way, how Mary Stuart Masterson died. How did a fucking animatronic get to his house?
Yeah, I wondered that actually, and then it was so stupid because then when the animatronic and the girl get in the cab
driver,
back,
cab driver's fucking chilled as he must have been stoned.
Which is the one kind of gag in the film is the cab bit. But yeah, I was like, well, how did he get here? He must have caught a cab here, right?
Without the girl.
Yeah.
Just by himself.
Yeah.
Can I tap? I don't have cash.
It was dumb. It was real dumb.
It was fucking awful.
So sorry, you go.
Go on. No, you go first.
I'm a 5, which is better than I thought I was going to be. I was expecting this to be like a 2 or 3, and I think maybe expectations played into it there because you'd already seen it and told me it was shit. I'd heard lots of people say it was shit. And I was like, look, it's not a good movie, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. So I'm a 5.
Oh, look, I think I gave Willy's Wonderland like 1.5 or 2. So this is a 3.
Yeah.
It's significantly better, but it's still utter garbage.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And that's no slight on any of the, because this is a cast of people that I genuinely like to watch.
Yeah.
But the writing and everything else is so bad that, if I want to see Josh Hutcherson, I'll just go and rewatch Future Man. I don't need this in my life.
All right, finally, because I actually did see the movie that we had told people we were going to see this week.
I'm so excited. I want to hear about it.
Well, I won't get into spoilers. Let's just do a spoiler-free.
I don't care about spoilers. This is not a mystery film. It's a fucking horror. I don't care about spoilers on most.
It actually is a mystery film. So let's get into it. Thanksgiving is a 2023 American slasher film directed by Eli Roth from a screenplay written by Jeff Rendell and a story by Roth and Rendell. It's based on the mock trailer of the same name from Grindhouse 2007. Same place.
Wow.
Did you not know that?
No, I haven't watched. I haven't watched the Grindhouse films in
Right. Same
God,
place,
more
of
than 10
course,
years.
that Machete came from. And
Hobo with a Shotgun?
Hobo with a Shotgun, yeah. So this is another one of those. It's the fourth feature-length film to be
that
adapted
explains
from the mock
because
trailers.
I didn't realize I'd seen the trailer, thought it looked actually surprisingly good for what it was.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was Eli Roth, who I am not a fucking fan of.
Right. Okay. And it stars Patrick Dempsey, Addison Rae, Milo Manheim, Jalen Thomas Brooks, Nell Verlack, Rick Hoffman, and Gina Gershon. And it really is an old school slasher film. This really is as close as you can get to an 80s, 90s slasher today. And
it makes sense now that I know it literally is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's come out of a mock trailer for that sort of film.
And for that I fucking loved it, because you know how much I love a slasher. And it's interesting. This movie really is, it's like a mix of 80s and 90s. Like, it's very 80s in its kind of style and gore and everything. But the closest I can equivalate this movie to is actually Scream. It's very 90s slasher. It follows a group of young teens. There's a mystery about who the killer is that you don't find out till the end. So I think...
Is it self-aware like that, or is it actually just the thing that Scream is kind of parodying?
Yeah, it's not self-aware. It is the thing that Scream is parodying. And that is actually my biggest issue with the film, similar to what I said about Five Nights at Freddy's, especially knowing that this is a adaptation of a trailer from Grindhouse. And when you watch the original trailer,
it to be a parody.
You expect it to at least have some level of cheese and fun about it. And like, the movie's fun. Like, the gore is fun if you're like you and me who likes gore. Like, there's some really great kills in here that are fun. But the movie on a whole takes itself very seriously, which is a strange move for a movie like this. So look, I liked it a lot. The cold open is effectively a drama piece. So what happens is there's a massacre on Black Friday, not like a slasher massacre, like, you know, a Black Friday trampling at a mall. And so the entire first kind of 25 minutes is that segment, which is very kind of drama filled. And sure, there's some great kind of gore there, like a woman gets, you know, trolley runs over her hair and she pulls her scalp off and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's played quite harshly. And then, you know, the killer is kind of enacting his revenge based on what happened in this kind of, you know, awful tragedy on Thanksgiving night. And so, like, when the movie is fun, it's fun, but I just think it takes itself too seriously for what it is. And I wish that it leaned into the cheese of what it's doing a bit more, like the original trailer did, rather than trying to be a straight horror slasher movie. Like, yeah, that's my biggest issue with it. That said, I had a hell of a lot of fun with this movie. And I don't know, I reckon you would. It's easily the most I've liked Eli Roth.
I've never liked... I do not understand why he is known as a name in horror, because I don't think he's made a good horror movie in his entire career.
No, I think mostly he makes gore. And
he is one of the biggest proponents of or the reason why we have torture porn, which yes, I have zero 100%. Time for. I don't like the Hostel films.
100%.
I think
I agree
they
with
have
you.
no reason for existing. And I didn't even think Cabin Fever was very good. No. And that's kind of what put him on the map. So I don't understand why he has this presence and reputation as kind of a leading horror guy, because I don't think he's ever done a good horror movie in his life. The best thing he's done his entire career was act in Inglourious Bastards.
I think you'll appreciate this then, because this is actually a horror film. Like I said, it's a very straightforward slasher film. It's really throwing back and homaging to slashers of the 80s and 90s. It has a real story, a real structure. Like, when there is gore, it's there. But I don't think this is anywhere near as gory as any of his other films. There's maybe 2 kills that are gory, but...
I will say, actually, I tell a lie. You know what? He has made a good film. Didn't he direct The House with the Clock in Its Walls with Jack Black?
Did he really?
I think he did. Unless I misremember. It suddenly popped into my... I think he did. I remember being surprised and thinking, really? Eli Roth?
He did. He directed that. Yeah. Yep.
So he has done a good film. So I will see this now. I did think the trailer looked promising.
It's worth a watch.
It was very disappointing when I heard it was him, but
I'm not going to spoil it for you because I do think this is worth a watch. And especially, look, I'm not recommending it to everybody. You know whether you'll be the kind of person who wants to watch this movie. It's an R-rated slasher film.
I came out of it
intestines,
seeing the trailer going, that genuinely looks better than average for that genre. So I do want to see it. And if
I just wish it was more fun. But
this episode, I would have already seen it.
I'm still landing on a 7. Like, I just wish it was more fun.
That's high.
Yeah, it's a really enjoyable movie. Like, I'm gonna have it quite high at the end of this year in terms of, my favorite movies I've watched. It's not going to make top 5. I'm not going to lie. It might make top 10 at this point.
Damn.
I enjoyed it. So I would recommend checking it out. I just wish it lent into the cheese a bit more. But
yeah. I mean, it sounds like, a better director would have worked, but I will see it. I'll report back next week.
All right.
I'm keen.
Well,
and you've got to get to, should say, it might be hard to find. It took me a bit of searching to find a cinema playing it, but I did. I didn't get to the film I was supposed to get to, but I did get to Saltburn, the new Emerald Fennell.
Oh, I love Emerald Fennell.
You know what a huge fan I was of Promising Young Woman. That was my favorite film of the year, and I'd been looking forward to this. I'd heard her interviewed on the BBC, and I knew it was a very dark comedy.
Yeah.
It had Barry Keoghan, who I know we're both huge fans of.
Love him. Yeah. No
Richard
one can
E.
eat spaghetti like him.
Richard E. Grant, Rosamund Pike. It's a Jacob Elordi. It's a really good cast. It's a dark fucking comedy. Shades of sort of Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah, okay.
That sort of a guy from a poor background, desperately trying to work his way into a well-to-do family. It really showcases just how fucking beautiful part of the world Oxford is.
Yeah,
the direction. It's stunningly made. You would love it. You need to go and see.
Maybe we should do that next week.
If you can get, I mean, check Dendy and places. It's none of the Readings were playing it. None of the Hoyts were playing it.
Yeah,
I did find it in one of the event cinemas, but that was the only one out near me. Anything else, I would have had to drive an hour into the city.
It is showing at my local.
I don't know why it's not more widely shown when it's her next film after Promising Young Woman.
It is showing at my local Dendy.
And it's got a big cast. I mean, if nothing else, all the teenagers will go and watch Jacob Elordi just being fucking gorgeous on film.
Well, I'll get to that tomorrow. That'll be next week's episode.
Yeah, I predict this will. If anything's going to bump Thanksgiving out of your top best of the year list.
I'm keen for that. All right. Well, speaking of episodes in the future, it's our 6th birthday. We, as a show have been evolving, particularly since Dave has come on and we've been doing some different kind of things. So, a little bit of announcement. Going forward, our bonus series, Hunt for the Perfect Album, which is over on Patreon. We're like 20 episodes in now. Pretty soon we're going to start rolling that out on the main feed. So Thursday will still be
lucky fuckers.
So Thursday will still be We Watched a Thing, and that'll be the movie show. It'll be whatever it is, whether it's actually what it says on the tin, We Watch a Thing, or whether it's a countdown of some kind, or
chameleon of a show.
Maybe it'll be movie news. Who knows? We'll do what we want with that. And then Mondays will be the Hunt for the Perfect Album. So patrons will stay getting that, a good 20 weeks in advance. And we're also going to start doing some fun stuff, interviewing some people, musicians and artists and record label owners.
Very, very exciting stuff.
So
coming.
That's going to be
genuinely can't quite believe it. But
and as well as that, we've been having a hell of a good time doing the mixtape, the playlist show. So I don't know. We'll throw that up.
I've got some good ideas for for new shows.
So we're not sure what's going to happen with that, whether that'll maybe be a monthly thing or a fortnightly thing or how we're going to structure that. But basically, we just love doing this. So more content is more fun for us. And
we will be cramming wonderful stuff down your ear holes, whether you like it or not.
Well, speaking of cramming wonderful stuff down people's ear holes, this week for the listener feedback, I simply posted that it's our anniversary. Good thing, too, because I had said we were talking Thanksgiving. You didn't end up seeing that. So, all right, here we go. Here are some wonderful people who have given us some messages. I said that we were going to,
look at this.
Ask me anything if people want to ask us questions. Patron of the show, an absolute legend, Josh Raglan, says, where do you fellas shop for your underpants? And are you boxers or briefs kind of guys? And happy anniversary. Keep up the great work. I don't know about you, Dave. I desperately need some new undies. I'm purely boxers, but they almost all have holes in them.
See, I am a sucker for marketing, even though I'm a marketer, so you'd think I'd know better. So when the countdown was sponsored by Manscaped, I got on board and I have lots of very super comfy boxes as a result of that. So I can recommend the Manscaped 2.0 boxes.
Yeah. Comfy. I bought 3 of those that have the jewel pouch in them.
Yeah. How have you put holes in them already?
I've put holes in them. I put holes in everything.
What are you packing down there, man?
Oh, mate, it's a big one. So I desperately need some new undies. So maybe I should hop back on the Manscaped website. Another absolute legend and another patron, one of our oldest patrons of the show, actually, Mel Pearson, who Topher and I met when we went to interview Hamish and Andy. And
that's going back.
She was also there interviewing them for her. I want to say it was like her daycare newsletter or something. They did this thing where they they opened it up to, smaller publications to have them on as like a press junket. And Mel started listening to us then and has been a patron ever since. She said, praise and criticism.
I love you, Mel.
I love the pod, even when you have wrong opinions. Question, what's each of your favorite things the other person has made you watch? Concern, it's pouring rain and I'm moving house today. The forecast said chance of light showers, so of course it's pissed down for the last 3 hours. Yes, Mel, I had the same problem last week. We don't have an electric dryer anymore. We do all of our drying outside, or as Dave can see me, on racks behind me in the recording studio here. Yeah, the rain sucked. All right, favorite thing the other person has made you watch? I have an easy answer for this. It was before you were a co-host of the show when you were a patron. I was going to say... do you want to guess what it is?
The first... surely it's the origin of the Bee Dizzle's Big Call.
Night of the Hunter. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I forgot that was the first use of the Big Call. Fucking great movie. I love that movie. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen, and I don't think I ever would have watched it if you hadn't made me. So there we go. Do you have an answer? Is there a favorite thing that I've made you watch? I don't feel like I tend to make you watch as much stuff.
Oh, we've had a fair bit. She doesn't
with
specify
the
movie.
hidden gems as well. Yeah, no, she doesn't
specify movie.
She doesn't. So it could be a TV show.
Oh, in that case, it's got to be Catastrophe.
Really, not Nathan for you.
Without a doubt, Catastrophe. That is a 5 out of 5 phenomenal show, and both. I mean that and Bad Sisters, but yeah, Catastrophe. It has to be Catastrophe.
Nice. John Amenta from the Pint Podcast, another absolute legend, said, no questions, just praise. You guys are awesome and make it sound effortless to put it together. Great episodes super consistently. I greatly enjoy your conversations and look forward to the next we watched as soon as I finish the most current. Keep it up and thank you for all the entertainment. Well, thank you, John. That's so sweet. John's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a lovely human.
Speaking of great guys, Paul Brazula from The Countdown, absolute champion. We had the pleasure of meeting up with him for a few beers and burgers a couple of weeks back, and he's just a great guy. So congrats on 6 years, Bee Dizzle, and well done on your first year, Dave. It's always a good moment when a new We Watch a Thing ep drops into my feed, as yours is one of the best review podcasts out there. It's kind of like second in counting down lists, but I have every faith you'll get to the top eventually. Thanks for all your hard work. Some version of this is my favorite question to ask review podcast, so I see no reason to alter it now. What is the worst take your co-host has had in the last year of podcasting? I mean,
it's got to be 9 out of 10 for Fast 10.
Oh, fuck you.
Pure fucking insanity.
Your worst take is not enjoying Fast 10.
I thought you were going to say it was having Your Highness as a hidden gem.
Oh my God, that movie underappreciated. You've had lots of bad takes, mate. Oh, mate. All right. David Powell said, bring back Topher. The new guy sucks. Favorite comment. Over on Twitter, Jason from the Binge Movies podcast, who, again, is an absolute legend. He just has a question for you. He wants to know, why is Dizzle such a sweetheart?
He's dipped in honey every day by news.
But thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening for the last 6 years. Thank you for just being absolute legends and for putting up with my shenanigans and for continuing to support Dave and I. We have a blast doing this every week. It's literally one of my favorite parts of the week is just sitting down and recording. So thank you all.
Completely.
In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchthething.com or wewatchthething@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, all under the handle at wewatchthething. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchthething, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, we will.